Ms. Kuster, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much, Secretary Gibson, for being with us today, and thank you for taking on this extraordinary task. We appreciate it. I want to echo the comments of my colleagues. I think you'll find that this is one of the very rare bipartisan committees on Capitol Hill right now, and we strive to work together. I want to focus in on the issue you mentioned, Ms. Bradley, and the work on ethics and accountability, because what my concern is while I wholeheartedly believe that we need to do every possible thing to ensure that our veterans get the care that they deserve, I have a hard time addressing the funding request before we get into how the VA is going to fix this underlying systemic issue of integrity. And in particular, the testimony that we've heard here about this scandal of people receiving bonuses based upon manipulated data, frankly, lack of truthiness, if you call it, honesty and integrity that not only the veterans deserve, but frankly, the American taxpayer deserves. And so if you could address, before we get into the additional funding, how do you intend to restore that level of integrity throughout the system? And if you could address, before we get into the additional funding, how do you intend to restore that level of integrity throughout the system? And what will be the actions taken for deceit and failure to abide by basic issues of integrity?
Yes, ma'am. When the President told me that he was going to tap me to be the acting secretary, I said, don't expect me to behave like acting is in front of the job title. And I have tried not to do that consistently. We have moved out on every front that we can conceivably move out on. So it's been a process of working not sequentially on tackling different issues, but working across a much broader front at the same time. So working to get veterans off of wait lists, working to fix scheduling issues, and simultaneously working to build the processes so that we can hold people accountable for willful misconduct and management negligence when it arises. As we went through this process, I perceived the need for additional expertise in that area, which is why I went and recruited Lee Bradley, and with Secretary Hagel's strong support, to come over to the department, to return to the Department of Veterans Affairs. We have built underneath her a cross-functional team of senior leaders from across the organization. Part of the process, part of the challenge we're going through right now is, part of it is just what it takes in the federal government to pursue personnel actions and to have them done in a way that you at least hope it's going to stand up to an appeal. The other challenge that we're working through right now is really the recalibration of the department's yardstick, if you will. That behavior that looks like this, which in the past might not have had any accountability action associated with it at all, may in the future be deemed appropriate for removal from federal service or for a very extended period of suspension. So what we've done, and as we have now, I mentioned earlier, gotten the first of these cases in from the IG, are now exercising that process, following due process, but also managing through this reset that has to happen, this recalibration that has to happen to ensure that appropriate accountability actions are taken for the wrongdoing that's been identified.
And if there's anything that we can do in our capacity in Congress, and I know that, you know, including passing a bill to give you the authority to literally fire employees, because I think that is the only thing that's going to bring this integrity back. And I just want to say, for the record, I had a tremendous honor this week. My constituent, Sergeant Ryan Pitts, received the Presidential Medal of Honor, and I was there for the ceremony with he and his wife Amy and son Luke at the White House, and then again as he was inducted into the Hall of Fame at the Pentagon. I was very interested in his comments this morning on national television when asked about his own care at the VA, that the care he has received in New Hampshire has been a very high quality. But I want to say for the record that every veteran deserves that care, and my time is coming up, but I do want to say that I hope you will pursue best practices, because I think we have some exemplary care in New Hampshire, and I'd like to see that throughout the country. So thank you, and on that I yield back.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kuster.